Welcome back to Cards and Comics. Today I have a vintage sports card mail day, and I haven't done a mail day in quite a while because I've been traveling, and I wanted to wait till I had a few cards in. And so I'm going to break the mail day up into a few videos because I have a lot of cards to go over now because it's been so long since I did a mail day. But I'm going to start with vintage because I feel like it's what I invested the most or spent the most on in terms of just dollar amount, but it's the fewest cards because I wanted to pick up some big cards, and I picked up a big card for my PC collection. In fact, it's probably the biggest PC card pickup I've had in quite a while. So we'll get into it. We'll start right here. First card up is a 1970 Bobby Orr Topps PSA 7, and I like hockey cards. I did a video on hockey cards. This one I don't have. You can see the eBay authentication on it. I just thought it was a nice card for the grade. I'm all about the 70s and 60s hockey cards because I just don't have a ton of them. I'm definitely picking up more players I like and sets I like as I go. This was just a really clean 7. And Bobby Orr cards are just super expensive for that time period, and I definitely want to continue picking up these cool 60s and 70s hockey cards because I feel like they're a little undervalued. But Bobby Orr definitely sells really well, so I don't think he is quite as undervalued as some other players in the hockey arena. But there's definitely quite a few that are very undervalued in my opinion. Next up is my one football card pickup, and this is a 1967 Joe Namath PSA 8, and it's a very old grade. Look at that. You don't see that flip very often, guys. And we'll flip it over. You can see that hologram flip, and you can see it is eBay authenticated again. Now, this one, I really like the centering on it. Great color. And I've never owned a 67 Joe Namath. And to me, anytime I can buy PSA 8 top tier Hall of Famers like Joe Namath, Unitas, Star, Jim Brown, I want to do it. And so these are very, very, very nice cards. I love that set design, and Joe Namath is a good player or one of the all-time greats. You can see that's the thing that's funny about it is he threw for less than 50% completion, and this is one of the things about Joe Namath. A lot of purists will say that he wasn't as great a quarterback as other players, just like Terry Bradshaw, a lot of metric wise, but won a lot of games, a lot of big games. So I think that's in the football vernacular, winning the big game is more important than maybe having stats. If you look at let's say Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning, that definitely plays into price points there. Where Peyton, you could argue, may have been a better quarterback than Brady when they played together, but stats wise. But if you look at rings, definitely Brady. So, but Joe Namath, really cool 67 Topps there. And now moving into the football, baseball cards. First up is one card that I have this card, but I've never had one this high of a condition. And if you know me, if you follow my channel at all, I love the 8.5 grade. And here's a 73 Willie Sturgill 8.5. Beautiful card. Well centered for this issue. I love the horizontal design this year. You see the backs. How did Willie do that year? Well, he hit 33 home runs, hit 293, 112 RBIs. And the year before, he had 48 home runs. So his breakout year was 71, which is the year the Pirates won the World Series. So you got to remember that even though Clemente was on this team in 71 when they won the series, Sturgill was the big stud in 71 for sure. There you go. But 73 Willie Sturgill, one of my PC guys. So this is an upgrade for me in this condition, and I love the 8.5 grade. I don't pick them up as much as I used to. If I did YouTube back in like 2010 through 2014, 2015, you would have saw tons of 8.5s on my channel because that's what I collected mostly in vintage. And now I don't hardly do it anymore because just price points, and they're just harder to find. So it's cool to pick up one of a player I really love. Next up is two cards I picked up at the local card store. One of them is this Frank Robinson, Brooks Robinson Bird Belters 68 Tops, PSA 8. And I've never owned this card before, and it's a really cool card. And you can see the Robinson boys, on the back. Just one of those cool combo cards that they did in the 60s. Never owned this card. It's an 8, so love getting 8s and the 60s of players like that. And then to go with it is the 68 Frank Robinson. Now, he also had the Brooks Robinson 8 to go with it, but I already own the Brooks Robinson, so I decided to just pick up the Frank and call it a day. Love all these cards. And this is Frank hit 311 with 30 home runs, 94 RBIs in 67. And 66, 49 home runs, 122 RBIs, and hit, 316. So Frank Robinson was a stud, big time stud. And I think people just forget how good a player he was. So really big Frank Robinson fan, and I think his cards are a little bit undervalued. In fact, I want to do a comparison of him and some other players in my Showdown series. I haven't done it in a while, but seeing Frank Robinson, and I definitely want to compare him to some other Hall of Famers just to see how he stacks up. All right, the big three are right here. This is, I don't know how to really do them in any kind of order. So I'm going to put them in order of kind of how I like them. And again, this is like trying to pick your favorite, kid. I love them all, but I'll start here with this card right here. T206 Cy Young Green Portrait, PSA 3. This card is super duper clean as a whistle on the front, back, super clean as well. So this card is, one of those cards when you look at, like what does a high-end 3 look like? Or what does a high-end 2 look like? It looks like this. I mean, honestly, rounded corners. Okay. Got me there. But, it doesn't have missing paper, creases on the face, creases across the front. You can really see. I mean, there might be a crease in this card. I can't see it. I've looked at it a little bit. I haven't seen it yet, if there is one. So just this card is very, very nice for the grade. And right here, I've got his brother-in-law, I guess you would say, the Cobb Green, which is sort of why I wanted to put them together. I've never owned the, the 4 big guys. So the Walter Johnson, the Ty Cobb, the Christy Mathewson, and the Cy Young. So now I own a Christy Mathewson card that's coming. So I still need to get a Walter Johnson card, but now I have 3 of the 4 big players out of the set, and I want to get them all on their portraits. And you can see this is a 2, boop, but you can see a crease right there, and you can see basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creases on this card, and it's a 2. This is a 3, and I don't see any creases. So for 1 numerical grade more, you can get, a card that clean. Now, if this card was as clean as this card, I would have probably not been able to afford it when I made the trade for it. So it just shows you, it's a great card, but, that condition, this in a Cobb condition would bring a lot more just because of visual appeal. So I'm very happy I was able to get this card again. Very nice visual appeal, just great card. Really happy with it. All right. Next up, a card I've never owned as well. And I shared in the last video, I think I picked up a 61 Mickey Mantle 7, which I used to have a PSA 7. Now I have an SGC 7. But now I have this card now in a 7, and it is a 58 Mantle PSA 7. And this one is Bueno. It is very, very Bueno. And it's feeling very bonita about it as well. But this card is super nice. Love it. I mean, the one thing I hate about the sleeves on these cards, sometimes it creates like an oil slick looking appearance on the card a little bit. So, but this card is super nice. And I paid like, more than this card normally brings by a pretty good amount. So I could get something that I thought was as close to an 8 or 7.5, like, again, PSA, and it's half point hating graders. Now, the one thing I see on this card on the back is it barely has some back border here. It's got a strip. It's there. I looked at it. So it's not miscut, but it's really close. So I think, in all honesty, if this card would have been centered more on the back, it could have got the 7.5. But it's not. So that's the big flaw. Front of the card is beautiful. Back of the card is off center. Who gives a crap about back centering unless it's miscut? That's my opinion. So maybe technically it's a 7. It looks like a 7.58 on the front. And it's got beautiful color. And it's got one little print dot right by his eye. And a lot of people hate that. So, hey, if you don't like print dots, it's just got one print dot. I can live with one print dot and the back off center for a card that virtually looks like a near mint to mint card in every other way, including centering, white borders, beautiful color. Just got to be a great card. And so happy to have this in the collection. And I'm picking up more Mantle cards just as I go along. It's not core part of my collection yet. I obviously want all the Hall of Famers from every set from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. That's like some kind of stupid goal that's in the back of my mind, but I know it's very hard to do. But having now the 52 Bowman Mantle, the 53 Topps Mantle, the 58 Mantle, the 61 Mantle, the 66 Mantle, the 67 Mantle, the 68 Mantle, the 69. So like when you go into, it's like, okay, well now I have quite a few mantles. And I had almost 0 mantles like 5 years ago. So I have definitely upped my mantle game. And this is the third 50s mantle I've got in a grade of 6 or better. So I feel good about that. This is obviously, an awesome PC card. Now, the next card is one of my top goals of this year. In fact, it's probably number 1. I would say it and a few other cards, like were on my, beginning of the year. I did a video on my collecting goals for 2023, and top of the list was this card here. So I would say it's probably close to number 1 of all the cards I wanted to pick up, and it is the 55 Willie Mays PSA 7. And again, this card is a little more off center on the front, but this card is terrible to find perfectly centered. But this card has dripping wet gloss and color. It is, you can kind of see it in the light there. It is in all other ways, from corners to print to color. It is, virtually untouched. I can handle a little off centering for a card that looks beautiful every other way. And some people who are centering guys, I know, can't handle anything off center. So if you don't like it, that's fine. I understand. But to me, from a technical viewpoint, it's super beautiful. It looks like it just came out of a pack. And that's what I love about cards. Vintage cards, they look like they just came out of a pack. And they're a little off center. I'd rather have that than a card that technically is a 7, but is beat up in a lot of ways, or faded, or has color or print issues, like something right across, like a big print line right across his face that really just distracts. I had the Mantle had that one little print dot, but you can't really even see it when you look at it. It's hard to see, so it's something that I don't really feel is that distracting. This card doesn't have those kind of issues, so it's beautiful. It's one of the, again, nicest Maze cards I've seen. And again, I bought this card on a best offer. I paid more than the last one sold, so I did, pay, stronger than, current comps, you would say. So, I wanted to have one I really enjoyed and was really passionate about getting, and this is definitely one of those cards. And again, if you line up the top 3 here that I just, picked up, it's hard for me to say, which of these is, better than the other. I don't know. I can't see them up. Sorry. But, if you just kind of look at them, it's, they're all, you could pick any of these three cards in any order and say, okay, this is my favorite. This is my favorite. This is my favorite. You know, for me, this was the target for the year. Like, if I never got these two cards this year, I would have still said, getting this card, I'd had a great vintage year because this is on the list of cards I was going to pick up. The other card on the list that I have not picked up yet is the 61 Aaron. It's high on the list. I haven't gone to auction houses yet, or, I thought, I'm just going to wait to the National to try to pick it up. But I'm going to start scouring some auction houses, see if it's no longer on eBay. It's one of those cards that's kind of disappeared. It's hard to find an 8, and that's what I want, an 8. So that's the number 2 card on the vintage want list, hit list. So I picked up pretty much my first choice. And so these 2 cards are kind of bonus cards. They were just opportunistic cards I saw that I really loved and wanted to get. So there it is, guys. That's my vintage mail day. Let me know of the top 3, which one you prefer the most. For me, it's the Maze, just because, again, it was high on the list of cards to pick up. But all 3 of them to me are well deserving of a place of honor on any list of cards that you would pick up. And again, real quality over quantity here in the vintage pickup this year so far. So let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you next time in Cards and Comics. Bye.